Hello and welcome. This is Mouse Gunner, and we're going to have another look with medieval engineers at some more siege weapons. Now you might be saying, looking at this right off the bat, we've got this nice looking, what looks like a ballista here, and you might be saying, oh, Mouse Gunner, that looks awesome. I bet you this thing works really, really well, and it's, super effective. Because historically, there was a lot of use of these, especially by Romans and what have you. And yours looks, that looks really cool. You've got a nice bolt in there with a nice stone head and everything. Well, before you give me too much praise, how about we actually see it work? Let's see. Okay, so we've got this thing lined up at our wall, and we've got it at a nice angle, so it's going to get a decent arc on the shot, right? So let's let it launch. Oh, look, look. Oh, yeah, that is about the best you're going to see out of this thing. It just barely got to our wall from that distance, and that is pretty much the ideal of putting at quite a lot of arc, and as you can see, very little damage done, just a little bit of a crack in the wall. So, unfortunately, our little ballista, although it looks very cool, has a little bit of issues, and I'm going to talk about the development a little bit here of the ballista. Now, this was my initial prototype, and these are honestly still prototypes because they really don't work. But in any case, this is the initial prototype. And although it is more compact and looks kind of nicer and is a little bit more functional maybe, as you can see over there, that one's a little bit longer, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But essentially, you make the cart separately, and then you make something that looks a little bit like this, which is going to be what holds whatever projectile you're going to use. And essentially what you do is it's kind of like making a catapult, and that you put a torsion spring, but you put it on its side rather than up and down. So just like this, you put a beam across it to kind of arrest its forward momentum, which is what I did here. Now this may be having an adverse effect on it, but I really honestly don't think so. But in any case, you put that there. You just do that times two. You draw back that arm, you put a beam in front of it, and you let it kind of rest on that beam. You do that twice on each side, and then you take that, essentially, I'm just going to call it a cup for lack of a better term. You put it in the middle. You put a hook on the arm, you put a hook on the cup on either side. You attach the arms by a rope, and then you put another hook somewhat in the middle. Now, because mine is even sized, it's kind of, it's impossible to put a hook immediately, directly in the middle. But that's not really an issue. And if you want to make this, odd, space-wise, make your ballista set up for that, you can. But again, this was a prototype, and I was just trying out the concept. Essentially, you grab the hook in the middle. You always keep the ropes attached to the arms to the cup. You attach it to your winch, and that central hook. You draw it back. And this one can go back a little bit further. And, that's kind of the issue with this one is it only goes back so far before it hits the winch. We can go ahead and grab ourselves a stone, and it will fit nicely on these two bars or beams there, round beams. And you just set that on in. Well, it helps if you actually put it on straight. And let's go ahead and get that other stone out of there so it's not an issue. There we go. So now we have pretty much our ballista set up. So you can use this with either the bolts that I showed you earlier, but you do have to make a slight modification to do the bolt, or you can do it with rocks. But the problem with this particular prototype is, well, that just glitched out completely. So let's do that again and have it not glitch out. Which, by the way, this is a very complex machine, and it has a lot of things that can go wrong with it. As you know, when you have all these torsion springs and ropes and what have you, there tends to be glitchiness, and you're just multiplying that ability to glitch out many-fold. Let's see if we can get in there and get that thing where it needs to be. There we go. And those beams, they hold in the large stones pretty well. So let's go ahead and let this thing go again. Hopefully it doesn't glitch out on us. So there you go. It launched. But as you can see, it barely dribbled out of the machine. I mean, that's like almost no distance. Now, you could put a small stone in here, but just like with a lot of other machines, the small stone tends to be a little bit less reliable as the thing is calibrated to hold a large stone. But we can go ahead and try it with this. I have a feeling it will disintegrate on us, possibly, but You never know until you do it. Sometimes it works alright. So we put our little ball in our cup, and we let it go. And there it goes. And it came out with a little bit more velocity, but as we could see yet again, it just barely made it out of the machine, hit the ground, and bounced. So because it had a little bit more velocity and just didn't just like, loop into the ground and break, it actually did bounce off the ground. So it does have a little bit of usability there. You can have the stone skip off the ground. But addressing some of those problems, I made the machine a lot longer. So essentially, you can draw back the cup to its full, bring back the arms its full distance before letting it go. So let's go ahead and do that. And now I put a beam across here to stop the rearward travel of the cup, because any further beyond this point is kind of the point where those arms glitch out. So let's go ahead and grab another stone. Oop, there we go. And demonstrate. This thing comes out with a little bit better velocity because it has a lot more travel. You're allowing the arms to use their full strength. But it's still not that much improvement. Oh, actually, you know what? I need to undo one of the... It still came out pretty well, but I need to undo the improvement that allows us to do the bolt, which I forgot to do. But I'll show you that improvement here in a second. So essentially, the improvement here is you have a couple of beams in the center so that you can stick your bolt in there, and it gives the bolt a little bit more guidance. But normally you wouldn't... Oh, I deleted something I didn't want to delete. Alright. So let's just put that back in there. There we go. So essentially you would remove that if you want to use, or you wouldn't have it at all if you just want to use stones. Actually, having those beams there caused the stone to kind of skip up a little bit, which gave it a little bit more upward arc, but it might have gotten rid of some of its velocity as well, so that is kind of compromised. But we'll go ahead and let the thing go this time. And as you can see, it comes out with a fair amount of velocity, a fair amount of distance, but still, that's not all that great. And not only that, I had to put this thing at quite a angle to get it to even get that kind of arc. Let's see if we can get the machine back up on the thing. Sometimes this machine's a little tricky to move around because of its weight and bulk in the rear, and only having the 4 set of wheels. But in any case, as you can see there, it's still not getting quite the distance. I mean, if you think about how complex of a machine this is, yeah, it hit the target. Just at the very base of the target, it hit. But it didn't really hit the main body of the target. And secondly, it's so much more complex than just a simple catapult. And a simple catapult is going to get probably the same kind of distance. Let's just try that out. So I'm going to copy and paste. It's just a simple catapult right next to our ballista right there. I'm not sure if it's aimed at the wall, and not really. And I'm not putting it at an angle or anything. I just have it just normally on the ground. And let's back it up so it's roughly the same distance away. Okay, there we go. And hopefully they don't interfere with each other. But in any case, we'll go ahead, grab our catapult, bring it back. That looks about right. And we try and get it to not do that stupid animation. Grab ourselves a stone. Oop. Hopefully there we go. Grab our stone, put it in the catapult cup. And I don't even have this at, the best angle, and I still guarantee you this will go farther. So, there you go. Much more distance on it. I think probably a little bit more oomph. And, we smashed that wall pretty good with just a basic catapult. This catapult is incredibly simple. It takes almost no effort to build one of these. The Ballista, super complex, took a lot of effort to build, and it's not really all that effective. So, kind of a problem for the Ballista. So it may look cool, it may function technically, but does it function as well as a very simple catapult? No, not really. And another stipulation I like to have for my siege weapons is that it be able to be used in a survival mode without being able to fly. And honestly, the way that this is set up, you really can't do that. But again, it's a prototype, It's not meant to be perfect, and you really could adjust this thing. But honestly, to get this thing to function, it has to be at the extreme angle it's at right now. That's just pretty much a fact. It needs to be like this. Also, you're going to need to have some kind of cart structure on it to move it around to make it practical, as what I like to say, something you can use in survival mode, something that's mobile, what I like to do with all of my other carts. The way that this is set up right now, I'm not really sure. I mean, I could try and work with this, but how easy it would be to get wheels under this thing as long as it is and still have it at the same angle, that would be kind of complicated to do and probably be even larger of a build than it already is. But let's go ahead and let the small stone go. And there we see the problem with the small stone is it tends to cause all kinds of calamities with some of these machines and cause the machine to just explode on us. But from what I've seen in my testing, it really didn't get all that much more distance than the large stone did, and it had something to do with the fact that the small stone is bouncing around in there because the cup doesn't really hold it as well as it does the large stone. The large stone is held very, very well by these two beams here, but the small stone isn't. And it bounces around quite a lot, and I think a lot of that bouncing around ends up causing the projectile to come out with very much less oomph behind it, especially with that longer machine, longer travel, a lot more bouncing around to do. And I've noticed that even with the large stone, you have quite a bit of odd spin that gets imparted on the stone when it gets shot, which tends to, I think, rob some of the velocity or even accuracy. So yeah, this thing, as much as it functions and it is kind of cool, and this was something that historically existed, ballistas were used quite a bit in ancient times, doesn't really work too well with what the way the game works at the moment. Now, why do I think that is? Honestly, I'm not sure if it's a combination of we have a lot of friction going on because this cup, essentially rubs up against the floor of the machine as it moves. That could be part of the problem. Another issue could be just the way that the ropes work. They don't really work like true ropes would, and there's kind of quite a bit of springiness to them, which could be robbing some of the velocity of the cup traveling forward. Now, there's some things I could do to try and develop this further, see if I could get rid of some of that friction or something. But honestly, I think the way that the ballista works at the moment, with the way that the game works, it's not really all that effective. It's a very complex build. You have to, make this platform. You have to, make two of these arms. You have to make a cup. It's very much more complex than just a simple catapult. And if a simple catapult is more effective, kind of, makes the incentive to build something like this not all that high. But in any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed kind of a look at a prototype that I've been working on. Again, unfortunately, it's not all that effective. And yeah, I mean, honestly, could probably use some more work. It's not an idea that I'm going to totally abandon, but it's something that I definitely think I need to work on more. If you guys have any suggestions of, things I can do to maybe make the thing work better, that would be very helpful, but at the moment, I think I'm just going to put it aside until, as either game changes happen or we figure out another way to get this thing to work. In any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.